Good afternoon. Is it afternoon already? Okay. Good morning. I'm going to use English. Okay. I will mix. My name is Flora Clement. I am the founder of Flow Reusable Sanitary Pads. I'm going to apologize because I'm going to talk about it a little so that you all know what I'm doing and why I'm doing what I'm doing. So we make reusable sanitary pads, we make reusable diapers, and we make breast caps. The reason we're doing what we're doing first is because we want to serve the environment, because disposable pads adds debris in the sea, and that's not cool. And because of that, we want to replace the waste that comes from using disposable pads with reusable sanitary pads. And baby diapers, we all know that the disposable diapers cause UTI. Most of the kids suffer UTI, and that's not cool. So we're trying our level best to make sure that most mothers can be able to get disposable diapers for the kids. And apart from that, they're also cost friendly, especially for the single mothers. And for the breast caps, it's because we all know that when a mother is breastfeeding, she's not comfortable when she's at work. So we want to provide them with at least a security that she can go work and be comfortable. Apart from that, we offer trainings on how to make reusable sanitary pads, both using hands and sewing machine. Apart from that, we offer awareness training around Tanzania and Zanzibar to make sure that awareness on sexual reproductive health and menstruational health and the taboos that are around that area are covered. So I had to put it out there for everybody to know. And why are we doing this? Because most girls fail to go to school simply because they can't maintain themselves during menstruation. And for me, I feel it causes inequality, and we can do better than that. So as long as I am alive, whether you help me or you don't help me, we will reach as many girls as we can, so that we ensure that we empower them. They are able to maintain themselves during menstruation, and they go to school. And the end goal is to break vicious cycle. We all know if a single mother is not educated, nothing comes good after that. Okay, enough about me. Okay, Madam Jacqueline, I would love you to introduce yourself. We've heard from the ambassador, from the Honorable Ambassador, and from Doctor. Doctor's name is a bit difficult, Dr. Nkundwe.
Yep.
Yes, so can you please introduce yourself, and then we'll start with the questions.
Yeah. Oh. Thanks. Thanks, Flora. Thanks, She Found, for hosting this event. My name is Jacqueline Jackson. I'm here representing CRDB. So my role at CRDB is more like a digital venture architect, where what I do is I use technology to transform the economy. And what does this mean? It means I work with fintechs, bigger fintechs, startup fintechs like you guys inside, most of you here. And what we do is try to solve financial pains of all Tanzanians and across Tanzania, because CRDB is also in Congo and Burundi. And at personal level, I'm also an investor, like an angel investor.
The people we are looking for.
Yes, and I'm starting with my close family members.
Okay.
But right now I'm looking for ways to expand. And on the other side, I'll do investment in stocks. So maybe sometimes if I'm not an angel investor, but once you do an IPO, maybe I'll get to work together. So
a round of applause for her, please. Okay. I would really love for everybody, for the remaining two, to also introduce themselves, but they already did. So let's just go direct to what we want to discuss. My first question goes to Honorable Ambassador Teresa. Thank you so much for blessing us with your presence first. It's really an honor. Here is my question for you. How can international partnership and collaboration like the one between Finland and Tanzania contribute to empowering and building the skills of youth in tech and business sector?
Yes, thank you for that very good question. So it's about like Finland's role and the international and cooperation to build the skills of youth. Well, firstly that comes to mind is that the exchange of ideas and fostering connections between the countries are very important. And this can happen and should happen on various levels. These connections can be the part of more higher level government-to-government meetings and cooperation, but it can also be student exchange, it can be the civil society discussions, dialogue. So the exchange of ideas comes firstly to my mind when we talk about international partnership and cooperation. From our perspective, we have for very many years, we have had really good cooperation between the universities between our countries in Finland and Tanzania. And it has over the years proven really fruitful with lots of good knowledge and ideas coming out. We call them like higher education institution, high IKI programs, cooperation programs. And for example, University of Turku, this is a country in the southwest, in Finland, works together with 8 Tanzanian universities. There is a program called the Geo for ICT program, and that is means that Tanzanian students, they are taught in the use of ACT, geospatial technologies and digital skills more largely. And with these skills, we've seen over the years, the students have better employment opportunities after they have graduated. And also, naturally, the possibility to create innovative solutions to different challenges, such as environmental degradation and rapid urbanization. These are also strengthened. And then we have other programs between universities as well. One is called like SUSI program. It's smart business and employability. That's the focus. And this is just to support the great ambitions that the universities here in Tanzania has to be transformative, to be innovative. But apart from universities, there is also companies on the private sector level. They can also contribute to creating infrastructure that enables technology, business development in Tanzania. And for example, the Finnish communications company Nokia has been active in Tanzania for the past 20 years. And together with the good cooperation of Vodacom, Nokia launched the first 5G network of Tanzania last year. But just since I have had the opportunity to talk to you today, I also pondered a little bit back on my own country's history and share with you briefly some observations from there. That has been kindly noted here is that Finland has now become a forerunner in developing digital technologies. There are like activities from very big players that are and to small, promising startups. And the Finnish tech companies, they are creating new innovations, cutting-edge innovations around the 5G networks. Artificial intelligence, which was mentioned earlier, very important. Cybersecurity, definitely very important. And other, like, it's kind of game-changing industries that we see for the future. It's a future that will shape all our countries. But it was not always like this. Finland has been a poor agrarian country that has fought wars, costly wars, for its independence from Russia. And we became independent like 105 years ago. But what has then enabled Finland to reach this role in digital technologies? Well, firstly, I would like to highlight that Finland has been investing in technology for decades, both private sector but also from the government. And there have been very many different government programs since the early 2000s. I now very happily hear that also here in Tanzania you have. There has been important the collaboration between our universities and the private companies, because the private companies, they need to be aware of what their knowledge is, and kind of that there would be a demand for the innovations that comes out from the great startups, from the great innovation hubs, from the universities. And more broad awareness rising. And believe me, it's not a matter only for Tanzania, it's in my country, it's everywhere. But of course, through the education system, we try to influence that there is a very positive attitude towards innovation and technology.
Sorry to cut you short. The part that you spoke about innovation, I have a question for you. So can you hold it until I ask you again?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Nkundwe.
Yes.
Nkundwe,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, that's correct.
I heard you from your speech, and I think everybody else did, that the government, through ICT, has been providing capital, and you said you're planning to launch satellite. I have a question. Considering with all that you've been doing up to present, what are the initiatives that your organization has placed, especially for youth? What I mean is that, what is the environment, or what are the policies that are in place to support their growth when it comes to the innovations that you're saying? Because, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Okay, I will answer it in the following way. In the side of the policy, we have a number of initiatives which are geared to make sure that the youth they participate in a digital economy. One, there is a framework which is called Sandbox Framework, which is very crucial for fintechs, startups, and most of them are youth startups. This is a framework which will enable fintechs to get access of data in any sector they want. Because the way the things are now, for example, if you create your software, say you innovate around education, right? So you have your software, you want to test it with the live data. Well, from the way things are now, maybe if you know someone in certain university will help you to access, and some of the data, not all the data. Because there is no any framework which give you access and which oblige them to provide you that access. So Sandbox regulatory framework that we have created will allow you, will give you an access. Of course, there will be a certain procedure, but very transparent one for you to get access of data, test your system so that you can exit very quickly from innovating it till the end. So that one I think is very crucial.
Okay, the data that you've said, is it publicized? Like, do everyone know? Because personally, I haven't heard about it. How can you ensure that all the youth that are in technology can actually know that there is such thing and they are able to obtain such data with few regulatory, but they actually can go ahead and achieve what they are trying to achieve or solve a problem they are trying to solve with the data that the platform provides?
Sure, that's a very good question. The challenge of reaching youth, it is many youth, they don't, for example, access information from TV. To be honest.
Why don't you follow them where they are?
So we follow them where they are. We are trying to make sure that we reach them. We use different media to educate. Like the coming conference is one of the platform that we use to make sure that we provide all the information which is required and all the things that government have done within 1 year. Because this is a conference that is annual, is all the time in October, and we count all the things that has been done and all challenges are still there. So we work hard to make sure that we inform as many youth as possible. We are the one that we are having the biggest database of startups in Tanzania. Okay. Those startups which are in our database, we inform them about that. But of course, it's our work to ensure that we provide this information not only in Dar es Salaam. This information need to go even to region, to the district in the rural areas to make sure that all the innovators they enjoy the same privilege like the one that people are enjoying in Dar es Salaam. That's one. Two, our government have invested 14 billion to build 8 innovation startup hubs in 8 regions. One will be in Dar, near Upanga area. It will be a startup that can accommodate 270 startups at a go. So it's a pretty big one. It'll be, the procedure will be the same, transparent. It is free so far. And then another one will be in Arusha, Mwanza, Mbeya, Dodoma, Lindi, Tanga, and Zanzibar. So this is the biggest investment, and what we are trying to do, we are not trying to disrupt the ecosystem, because we know there are many incubators and accelerators which are run privately. We are just showing the commitment of government on how we can work with other people. So the Innovation Hub, the way they will be working, the model that is working is, for example, if you have a program, right? And for example, you have a special program, say for girls in innovation, we can provide a space for you to run that program so that you will overcome the cost of renting an office and things like that. And those hubs, they will have all the amenities which are needed for someone to be able to run the startup or to run any program. So it's a government commitment to ensure that more youth are taking advantage of digital entrepreneurship, things that are available now. So those are the few things that we are doing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Jackie, I know you work with CRDB, and you've mentioned you're an angel investor, although you're still investing in your family, which is a good thing. I applaud you for that. I have a question about Imbeju. Is it a recently program, or was it there?
It's for this year. It started this year, but officially launched last year.
Okay, great. So my question is, can you highlight to our audience what Imbeju is and what it does, and how far has it benefited entrepreneurs in Tanzania?
Thanks. First of all, I'm lucky to be with DG from ICTC because he's the key partner in this program. And if anyone comes from Mbeya, they already know the word Imbeju. What Imbeju means, Imbeju is seed, is mbegu.
Yeah.
So we are offering seed capital in a very conducive environment. As a bank, we know to get loans to banks, to get funds from bank, you need to be well established. And simply because the banks are highly regulated institutions, because we are sitting with people's money and we need to take care of all the risks involved around. So as a bank, we sit down and thought on how we can address the market that is not marketable for our loans based on the conditions and the criteria that we operate in today. So from there, we decided to partner with ICTC because we are targeting youth, and specifically in the area of STEM, of technology, because we know for the businesses, there are so many in places in Kariakoo. It's easy to invest with normal business traders, entrepreneurs than the area of science and technology, simply because sometimes innovation is unknown. So as a bank, we set down the program called Imbeju so that we are able to offer grants, and we have allocated 5 billion to all startups in Tanzania in a competitive model where ICTC, together with COSTECH, are offering incubation services and training and mentorship for all the startups who had participated on program. But on the other side, the program has a non-competitive model for women only, the small, very small holding women, like the mamantilie that you see on the road. But they need to organize themselves in group and to have the funds. And these funds are not having interest like normal loans, and they are repayable for 2 years, 1 to 2 years for the startups. And I think we have already onboarded the first cohort when the program was launched in May. And it's going to be a continuous program as long as we see the impact of the startups that we already have in place. So that's brief about Imbeju.
Okay, thank you very much. So in short sense, it's that your group is your collateral. That's what you're saying?
That is for the non-competitive. But for the youth, especially the tech startups and the normal startups doing different area of the industry.
For example, is somebody generating or producing honeybees?
Yes, honeybees. We have fintechs. We have people dealing in health. We have people dealing in agriculture, agri-techs. All those startups, we are supporting them with funds which are grants. Of course, you'll return them in 1 to 2 years without the stringent fees and charges and interests.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So my young CEOs, we have to apply Embeju. We will, right? Yes, thank you. Back to you, madam. So, according to, I'm seconding Dr. Nkundo's words that Finland has the best education in the world.
Yeah.
And because of that, please, a round of applause, please. Okay, so with that reference, my question is, what are your suggestions when comparing to the education system that is here in Tanzania? And what do you think we can do better? What are the suggestions? So that they usually say that you should aim for the stars. If you can't get there, you end up on the clouds, and which is far more better than where you are. So please enlighten us.
Yes, thank you. It's quite a difficult question, but I promise I'll do my best. Okay. But let's say that, which I alluded to in the last intervention, was that there has for a long time been quite heavy investments from the government side on the education system. It has been free, and it has been part of a kind of a larger like a social inclusive policy. There has been free schools, there are free school meals, there is free health care from the very first classes. You have jointly, you go yearly and check your health and your teeth and everything. And obviously this is all paid by tax money, so it's a part of like a larger society, how we have arranged ourselves, that people agree to pay quite high taxes because they know that they will see the results in a way of free good schools, free hospitals, roads, and you name it. So what I'm trying to say is that it's a part of a larger system which has resulted in these very successful schools. And very early, we also integrated digital innovation and digitalization into our school curriculum. Wow. So that is also one explanation for the past 20 years. Finns learn early how to use digital tools, e-learning platforms. We do all our, I mentioned tax, tax return, we fill in it digitally, we apply for our passports digitally, everything is more, and of course banks and so forth are done digitally. But then there are some new questions that comes up when we, and especially the schools now, when they use more and more digital means. One discussion that has been going on in Finland for at least the last year is that should the pupils be allowed to have their mobiles in the classroom? Because on one sense you can say that they are used very effectively, you can kind of look for important information that you need while doing your work in the class, and then you can see where what classroom you go to next and the timetable and so forth. But then, on the other side, if it kind of requires attention there all the time, it might also impede with the learning process. So this is just an example of that new tools can lead to new challenges. But all the challenges are there, and one needs to discuss and find solution. But and then something that I might want to mention specifically is perhaps how we have incorporated innovations in and education in the forestry sector. We have a big forestry sector cooperation Tanzania in Finland for the past 40 years. One part of that is also education. There's a training center, and we see what are the opportunities to give value added from the forest. But this goes a little bit beside the point. But more generally, and this was mentioned regarding the innovations, I participated this week in the African Food Systems Summit, and I was very impressed by the summit and by also many of the speakers and the messages that came out. And one quite strong message was that that how much more production and quality and innovations are needed in the agricultural sector. And somehow, in order to make it more attractive for the youth, one should see it more like a business. It's very far away from the traditional subsistence farming that one might easily associate with when one hears agriculture. But it is actually about possibilities to make new innovations, high-tech. One needs capital there. One needs to build a broader international connections in order to export the products and so forth. So I'm quite, I think that there are really huge opportunities there. But thank you.
So, if I got you correctly, what you're trying to say is that Africa, we are good, right? So far, from what you've spoken.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy that you've mentioned about agriculture and how tech can be integrated in agriculture. And I believe with what you've said and what you've seen, it's a start of a long way, but it's a good start. And we are all hoping to know and see where that will take us. But apart from that, the fact that with the knowledge that you have, I believe you have exposure. In terms of business, you've mentioned it, but I would really love you to elaborate a little bit more. In terms of business here in Tanzania, I believe you've had chit-chat with Vanessa, and she's given you a scope of how things are run around here and all that. And what is your take? What do you think can ease in the process?
I think that the youth was very much encouraged during the summit, for example, this week. They also participated and they raised their concerns, and they would need access to technology, they would need to have more access to funding, they would have more access to land. There are many issues also, the title deeds when it comes, legal issues then, in order to be able to get the payoff from the big investments when it comes then to personal investments, when it comes to perhaps monetary investments. One need to ensure that the whole value chain somehow works. That includes also roads and transport, so that once the goods have been produced, whatever they are, that they are not going bad, that they can reach the market. And then of course one comes also to the question of market that you can rely on. And then we talk about a business environment that they use, that they can trust, that when they come up with the production, they know the rules, the regulations, the laws, the exact amount of tax, that makes them able to operate.
Okay, thank you. Last question for Doctor. With respect to what Honorable Ambassador has already spoken, what are the steps is your organization taking to streamline innovation or to encourage innovation?
That's a good question. When it comes to innovation, especially in youth, there are models that we need to use to look at that challenge and how to approach it. And the model that I like is a demand and supply model, right? If you have this challenge in here, you need to look which intervention that have been done in the supply side and which intervention that have been done in the demand side. Most of the intervention that have been done in our country since, say, 2002, because 2002 is when I finished my master's and I start to work. So that's the time I started to follow everything that is going on in this sector. We were investing most of the time in the supply side, distributing computers, right? Giving people internet connection, making sure that people that got mobile phones, smartphones, and things like that. That is the supply side. Now, in the demand side is where now we need to put more emphasis with. And that's where I really appreciate the initiative that ICT Commission and CRDB Bank have done. Well, to provide a means where very transparently, anyone can access a seed capital than the way things were done before. And we, as government, as an ICT Commission, like the way I said before, we work with all the institutions, all in the private sector and in the governmental sector, to ensure that we build the culture of innovation. Because the most important thing here is to build the culture. If someone will ask me, what's your achievement? I will consider myself that I've achieved what I've been told to do when I'll start to see students, when they're in a final year, that they believe that they cannot go to be employed by government and seriously start their own startups and go in that path to build their own future.
Okay, additional point. How many students are in here? Can we clap for ourselves? You are the future we are talking about, and thank you for having that kind of a mindset. Okay, to finish up, I have a question for you, Jackie. With respect to what Doctor has said, and with what you had mentioned earlier, we know women and youth. We know us, and we know youth. So apart from the fact that we are always, women and youth, we are more likely the same. We are always trying to do things, but something that we lack mostly is the right information and how to go about it. So I'm actually giving you two questions. So how do you make sure you reach these women and youth so that they don't miss out from Imbeju? And apart from that, what are the future plans for women and youth when it comes to Imbeju?
Okay, I can answer that in the context of Imbeju, yes. But we can also go beyond Imbeju. Yes. As the bankers, we have so many things that we do, youth and women being our agenda for the next 5-year strategy. So how do we reach these women and youth? First of all, the project, especially in STEM, the project was initially launched in a soft launch in Zanzibar when there was ICTC conference last year, because there is where we were able to meet a lot of people in the STEM industry. And then in May, we hugely launched the event in a very big manner so that we can reach so many people. But the program itself has a training module where it goes across all the areas of Tanzania, the regions. It organizes sessions with women in groups to provide them with all the information that is required about Imbeju. Apart from that, we also visit universities. They've been to the University of Dar es Salaam in Zanzibar. And we also work closely with COSTECH because we know COSTECH as an ecosystem player is highly integrated to the people in the field of STEM. So that is how we get to reach these people worldwide. And we are also utilizing our branch network, because as CRDB we have the biggest branch network of 254 branches across the Tanzania. And anyone who wants to know about Imbeju can walk into the branch. But again, on the Gen Z, with the access to the internet, they can get all this information on ICTC website, COSTECH, and also CRDB website. And we've also invested so much in the mainstream media, all the radios that you know, to make sure the program reaches the intended audience. And the second question?
The future plans?
So the future plans for Imbeju Imbeju is not a 1-year accelerator program or a 1-year cohort thing. It's a continuous thing, because we have an agenda in our strategy for the youth and women for the next 5 years until 2017. So for the next 5 years, I'm sure about the Imbeju ongoing until 2027, maybe something else is going to come. But our plan is to increase the capital, again, based on demand and supply, and we welcome as much as possible so many partners that are interested to grow with us, because we've started with just 5B, but our plan is to grow it based on demand. And what we also do for the youth beyond Imbeju, we're working with big universities like UDSM ICT to provide, to build capacity for software development, because we know in order to build digital skills and support the digital economy in the next maybe 10 to 15 years, we want to bridge the gap between theory at schools and what is happening in the corporates, because one of the things that we faced as a bank is that we are trying to grow internally, but looking outside the market, we have scarce of resources in tech skills who have hands-on practice, like they have experience. Like you see, most of job adverts require someone to have 2 to 3 years experience. So we said we're not going to wait for fresh graduates so that we can offer them another internship program, but we're going to follow them through at schools, so that on the first year, someone gets this hands-on experience until, let's say, when they finish their 3rd year, 4th year, they already have that 3 years experience that you were looking for when you want to hire them. But in the long run is to build a marketplace of tech talent so that we can support the fintech economy that will benefit us, the bank, and nationwide. But the skills they get are not necessarily for employment. They are to complement them to have the innovation skills required and the business and entrepreneurship skills required for them to start their own things and grow the ideas that they started with during the incubation. And we are planning to scale this. This program has started last year. This is the 2nd year. And we are planning to scale it to other universities. That's all.
Thank you. That was well explained. I hope everybody got her, right? Mm. Okay, so I would love to thank each and every one of you with the intelligent and most impressive work that everyone is doing at their organization. And thank you so much for showing up for the ladies, for the mothers, for the youth, and for the nations, so that we end poverty. Thank you very much, and this marks the end of our panel discussion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.